Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with Amariespeaks, and as titled, this is a homework session, which is a part of or a little bit of a breakaway from my Deconstructing Distortions series that I just started. This series in itself is sort of a second step up from my original Comprehending Consciousness series, which is, geared towards beginners, geared towards people who are newly waking up, and this one's a little bit more for the eternal student, the one who's already sort of been around the block a bit and ready to look at distortions. And what are distortions, if that's kind of your questioning here? I have the first preliminary 2 episodes, which I'll put in the description, that go over really the multifacetedness of what it is, and we are as beings here, as light body beings, as mind body spirit complexes doing many different sort of energetic functions. We classically work sort of like a prism, and we distort things. And that's a bit of a prelude to all those episodes, and just a bit of a quick understanding for those who have ears to hear. It's direct, and it's also metaphorical. It's, literal and figurative. Take it as you might in any direction that you choose, because they will all be viable and valuable, and that's the point of it. So, to get around to my homework session, what I want to talk about is sort of like this, but it's very hard to talk about and to speak on directly. Oh, I do. Okay. I'm just thinking, I'm getting the warnings about AI asking me, organic intelligence, am I paying attention to it? I can't stand those functions. Why do you care? It's none of your business. I put you on as functioning organic instructions. I pressed play to you mechanism. You should just stay on until I decide to turn you off. I don't know when we started handing over authority. Okay, I can talk about this. I'm not going to get caught up in this, but this is really, where we allow power to be had at, and input and output of our own is really, the power of choice. This is what I'm talking about. The power of us, the power of creation. The word power in general is really kind of what I wanted to dive into in this homework session a little bit, and speak on it in my own way, just from a positive angle, and just what it is for a power source of positivity, and to talk about the eternal flame a little bit, and to talk about creator consciousness and how that is the power, and that, I have just done episode, part 6. I'm going to stop saying episodes because I screwed up on numbering those. I just realized. I'll have that corrected next time. But, well, I didn't just realize it, but I just realized how to fix it, but the part 6 of Walter Russell, my podcast, the dissecting of the prayer that I'm walking through over there, I have just gone through these parts about standing on the electrodes of the universe of energy and unlimited power, and being able to say, I have power to vitalize myself and to vitalize others and revitalize others, and that connectivity of receptivity that we charge each other with, that he's really showcasing and talking about during this section of the prayer. Excuse me. I got a bit caught up in just the sort of surface level, physical body, preliminary kind of distortions of my own in the podcast session, and so I wanted to kind of take it a little further here, and also bring in a little bit of what I had talked about power in itself, because I sort of already kicked around ground about power back in the third part of this dissection. And so 3 and now 6 have sort of brought around the topics. And I love how now it's sort of, I went from talking about individual power and the connectivity to creator source back there, and how being a part of this sort of etheric space of energy, you know, it keeps us powered, and that we sort of don't need to do anything to be powered up by it. It's just there, like you're alive. You know, this time around, it brings in a little bit more and talking about how we charge with others and bringing in the service yet again. And you know, a lot of times there's a call for service and action within this prayer, which is another reason why I keep coming back to it, and I love it so much. But to say, you know, power is mine. All power is mine. Unlimited power. And that has a resonance all of its own, and it has this great momentum charge to it. You know, you can feel it through you when you speak those words. There's, for me, I am trying to speak on the 2 different angles here of light and shadow of having power and holding power, because it creates 2 angles of observation, choice, and distinct actions and intention are required to be a part of and work to create more within either flow or charge of power. And right, we have positive and negative. And it can get a bit moral and ethical here, and I don't like, we should really pull out of that and really step out of that to understand about charge and flow first, about energy, because we have to remember that there's so many layers of happening, and that there's give and take and flux and flow between all of them. And positive and negative are required to create flow and balance and in itself. So when we get too nitpicky and too pigeonholed down into really close view, first-person view, and emotions and entanglements and attachments, we start to put feel-good feelings on one side and feel bad feelings on the other, and that creates, you know, a ton of distortions in itself, really. That I don't, you know, I have so many videos over the years on talking about on this balancing of light and shadow, and what we're seeking and what we're intending. But what I'd really like to highlight for now is the power of the choice between the 2, right? And that there are there's 2 choices available, and they create within themselves each sort of an angle of observation and a place and space within the whole of infinite discovery, you know, within the blank slate that there is of discovery, the X and Y graph, or whatever I like to talk about sometimes, you know, playscape that's out there. It creates available area, bam, over here, and available area over there for different types of interactions, depending on what we're seeking and what we believe about our power. And the belief in the power here, the intentions of truth, is another way to say that, right? Because sometimes we get into belief, and we have this word believe. This is my own, this is my homework, obviously, here. You know, this is me doing my own digging and presenting my own, right? So what else can I offer? But I also don't want to get too lost in my own thoughts, which now I am, sort of. It's so funny how you can work to sort of want to present as honestly and as transparent as possible, but then there also is always this sort of a boundaries of what you or how you can share things. And sometimes they're placed not even with the intention to deceive or to distort in a negative sense of controlling how others will see about what you're saying, but more or less you can't even see what you're trying to say, and you want to present it clearly, but you don't have a clear view on it yet. And only you know, or only I know as I'm speaking and sharing, where I'm coming from. You know, there's the truth meter and there's the sensations, and we do have these availabilities to sense others. And this is the greatest thing about sort of the internet videos and the new connectivity, of this version of it, is that we can sort of learn a sense in one angle. I mean, of course, we're not in direct proximity in direct world together, so there's a missing angle. But we still have that, there's much more than there ever has been before, much more than there ever was, or we're told about history in the past. But at least we can look at our fathers and grandfathers' generations that we sort of know tangibly and say that they didn't really have this instant connectivity like we do here. Testing and being able to hone and tone the muscles of sensing truth and distortions, and which kind of distortions are coming from which angles and why, and do we want to interact that or not? And and more flip the lens is not do I want to interact with that or not, like we put out bad things on others only, but how am I interacting, and am I interacting clearly or not, and are people going to want to interact with me or not as well? It's always a two-way street of learning, is what I'm also now, coming through and understanding. And there's such a distant understanding of the two-way street mechanisms that I'm working to understand and get a gain on both of those happening in my everyday life. Yet I know, third party, there's a street. And what's this whole avenue street that we're actually in and out from? The higher sight out there, my higher self, God's source, sees a street, not just this way and that way, in and out and back and forth. There's a whole concept to being a street. And is it an avenue off of a main highway? Is it the highway? Is it a back road? But to me, all I know is very busy traffic on streets going in and out. There's a power to perspective and to what you have available to you and to me. And there's also a respect and an honoring in that power as well, because that power is two-way. Everything is, right? Everything's give and take. And so you have to remember, as I'm extending out, seeking to infringe and observe in places that are not my direct vicinity, well, you're extending yourself out into places that aren't called for you. So you should be prepared to be experiencing that coming back at you in a way, because everything is a mirror and an echo and a reflection. Having the power and understanding that seeking has a power in itself, and asking yourself, well, why am I even doing that? That's in itself is a corrective power, and it's such an important one, and one that I am just getting a handle on myself. Hmm. 15 minutes in, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it doesn't matter where these videos really go, but my initial kind of little molding of homework that I was working through was more aligned to the freely offered service about power. And now I've gotten a little bit into our own power and choice of power and inner world power versus external power. But you have to have the understanding of where the power is coming from and how to power up and how to exchange your power in order to do it correctly, and then in order to be a part of positive power systems and be freely offering, and to seek more positive systems. So in a roundabout way, with giving the foundational work first and understanding that you have to know, you have to have correct alignment in your own systems first, and have a good positive seeking in the first place in order to even understand, and in order to be able to tap into those deeper ripple effects of power that go out to other external space out here, like whatever we're building in, whatever the playscape in the matrix is, whatever all of our direct world is built out of. We are get the chance to go out there and build out there. And it's been quite a while, it may be a year since I started all the system series, that I have gone over and sort of talked about how important it is to never start with the external seeking. I started with the external seeking, and I got very lost out there and became infested with shadow, and couldn't even get out of my own way, because I was fooled by all of the carrots and the tricks of seeking in the conspiracy truther realm, in the outskirts and fringes of the matrix show, the side show carnival on the outside of the theater. You think you're outside the show. You think you're outside poking at all the idiots who are in the movie theater watching the blockbuster new film provided by the Matrix, and we're outside at the side, think we've built their own sideshow out here, doing something different, alternative, but yet it's been the Matrix all along. It's just the outside bazaar on the skirts of the movie theater. You're on the sidewalk of the movie theater. There is mountains, there is the beach, there is a whole pasture, there is a way that you get out off the sidewalk. And I only got off the sidewalk very recently, in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah, my younger son is 10. Well, it's been about 10 years now. It was, my younger son was really sort of the linchpin from my walk in my life that caused or didn't cause but sort of opened up the avenue for me to understand the spiritual layer, and to break out of the shackles, and to see that I was on the sidewalk, and to want more for myself, because it doesn't feel good there. And that's the problem with the power, and that's the problem with seeking in ways that are harmful for ourselves, or ways that are negative, because everything around us seems to be only negative, and we get forced to think that there's sort of these only one ways of thinking and working and being. But lucky enough for sidewalk folk, there's a fresh breeze always blowing. There's always something calling attention. There's always something out there, like ping, 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 like little stars in the distance, like a calling of a song, a sweet smell on the breeze. There's something that you bump into on the sidewalk that's uncomfortable when you're really starting to seek your truth, or you ask too many things about the things that are out there with these alternative figureheads that are actually, whether they're known or unknown, and I'm not going to make any comments on that right now because that's a whole other field, a whole other concept, but, whether they know or don't know their role of where they're standing at and what they're presenting is whatever, whether they've been spiritual bypassed and they're doggies who can't sit down, but they think they're going somewhere and they have good in their heart and intentions, or whether they are NPCs and whether they're part of the Matrix, asleep, ready for Agent Smiths to come into them, or whether they are Smiths, or whether they're known, The point is, you bump into these characters and you get a rebound effect. You get deterrence when you're seeking truth. And that shouldn't happen. And we know this because we want better for ourselves. We want to find what feels good. That's why we're outside the stupid show of the theater. We don't want to be fooled by the Hollywood fairy tale thing anymore. We don't want to ooh and ah and up and down with them anymore. We want to be the star in the show. We know all the shows we watch tell us we're the star of our own show. They keep making up all these hero's journey themes, and so many of us want to be the hero. We go outside and we know a purpose for our life. We're active. We want to do something and feel better. Or we're sick and tired of being sick and tired, whatever the case is, you know. But you get into the places where you understand out there, like, something's incorrect. And then finally, you end up connecting with real truth, and it takes you off the sidewalk. And all of a sudden, you have a view of, like, the whole sidewalk, and you're like, oh my goodness. I don't ever, you know, I got to get off there. Sometimes I end up, like, you know, still, I have a big sign over there, like, near the fringe of the woods, like, hey, sidewalk folks, remember me? Like, do you remember me? Do you hear me? Or sometimes even years it was going back over there and bumping around and trying to shake them out, trying to get them to come out. Or some people maybe follow me out, some people hear me, I don't know. You know, meet people of all different varieties and walks of life. And the thing with stepping off the sidewalk is that, and coming to find out that actually there's infinite potential to just do whatever you want every day out there. It's like you lose kind of interest in even the sidewalk nonsense because it's just like a waste of time. And if creator consciousness fuels us all, everything has a purpose, you've got a divine purpose. The fact that you can see off of that and away from that has great purpose. So go do things off and away from it, right? That's what I always tell myself. Like, stop turning around and wondering what they're doing. If you were meant to be over there, you would be over there. You wouldn't see outside of it. And creator consciousness has a role of that happenings over there. And those ones who can't see out of it have a part of that role. So let them play it. And play yours and do yours, because your callings are different. And it's really that simple. And it ignites this great power when you do what feels good to you. And when you just go out and seek whatever you find out there in the great wide open. And other things get called to you, and you find out there's other people out there, and there's never empty space at all. And it's not, it's wonderful. And you're not starving, you're not dead, you're not out, like, can't make it or anything. You find out there's a whole other stuff, like I did, you know, like in my life, I was brought to a whole other state and place, and, you know, my family unit that's meant to be with me through all of this has made its way, and those who haven't. And it's brought us to a whole nother place setting that I wouldn't have imagined or even configured into my potentials and plans if I went back 7-10 years and said, where do you think, you know, it's that in itself speaks so deeply to me and to the great power of the connectivity of everything around us, of a great purpose, of divine alignments, that, yeah. Any time that I'm kind of in between places of these different cycles of light and shadow work, right? Of the dark night of the soul and the unlocking of enlightenments. The whole, you know, this is my homework, I guess. This is what I return to. And that in itself keeps me going, and it keeps the inner vortex of all of my systems flowing, because I remember and know that that inner place is attached to, you know, the before and the after, ultimate source and divine purpose, and that I came here with purpose. And that fuels all action that I ever have to do. I'm ready to offer my service, you know. That in itself is the intention in the building of my creative space. And by maintaining that sort of atmosphere around myself for days, weeks, months, years now, you know, creating a more steady return to an average state of that sovereign power of peaceful rightness, of just doing what is right for me in my moments, making good choices, being transparent and honest, seeking harmonious solutions with as much clarity as I can for all involved, remembering that I'm a creator fractal consciousness bit with right and purpose, as is all others. No matter where they appear to be on the spectrum of whatever they're doing, I am giving and holding an honest space that they have the right to discovery, because that's the one truth. That's the belief. That's the power. And when you hold that kind of power, it's like this resonance of give and take, and it creates in itself its own sacred boundary. And each one out there has it. And this is what I really am going to try to wrap up here. I'm almost at a half an hour. So to talk about how we power others, and what about systems. But you have to understand how to power up your own, and how to hold that resonance of positivity, understanding that it is a give and take, that it is a light and shadow thing happening. Negative and positive systems within yourself are always doing this back and forth. And that it's through an ease and a strength of doing that kind of balancing work that we create the resonance and reverence. And that we interact and can do that and step into others and then back out of them and create reality, places, spaces, projects, ideas, scenarios, other experiences, step into them, enliven them, be a part of them, give to them, take from them, walk away from them, allow them to give and take to others, and then step into them when you want to, understanding that it's okay and it's completely acceptable and expected to be able to freely exchange and to offer first. And to just offer what you have as what is freely yours to give. Nobody asks to offer what is not to be given. You can't exhale out CO2 you still need. You know, you can't breathe in any air out from the air from others that they don't need, that you don't need. You know, you're not taking away from anything by your exhale. These sort of understandings that this is energetic currencies, that we need to remember that these truths should guide all exchanges. We shouldn't be putting these weird entanglements on other types of exchanges just because they happen in physical reality, or don't happen in physical reality, or are played out in this gross body as me, versus, oh no, played down in the microscopic body as an organ system, or as a single cell, or as a spirit layer, or some other kind of conscious fractal bit, compartmentalization of the self that is positively aligned and represents infinite organic exploration of creator consciousness. You know, not a segregated, shadowed compartmentalization, cutting things off because we're scared and jamming things in boxes and corners because we can't look at them, with monsters in our attics and basements and too scared to do any of the cleaning because we might find bugs behind something or whatever. You know, it's having the righteous knowledge and power to say that, okay, whatever might be hiding wherever you are, I will be there to clean you up when ready, you know. And it's not an infringing, oh, I'm going to go in this sort of direct, harmful, actionary way and start forcing things that aren't ready to be seen to just get out either, right? Because we have to know that things have purpose. There's dynamic, there's up and down, there's give and take, and that in itself is a righteous, sacred boundary. The power of offering good service to shadow is something that I've talked about a lot, not in a while, but is so important and crucial when you become your own energy alchemist here and you're doing work for yourself. Because the shadows within you are part of you. Just like if your inner child's hurt, or you have an aggravated or overinflated divine king or queen in there, masculine or feminine energies, or even these sort of archetypes within yourself that are overinflated and overimportant, versions that you tell yourself of yourself, past images of yourself, or future versions that you think you're going to get to, or whether it's a chakra that's out of line, these sort of centers that go through these sort of figurative energetic concepts that you feel as one is out of balance with the others. Like having the power to know that you have the corrective rightness to make those and to fix those commands. You know, I talked about that in first episode, and how important the commands that we tell ourselves are. They organically aligned to positivity, and that from the inside out sets the processes to function in a certain way, calling forth certain balance. Are you calling forth a balance of surplus and abundance in all angles, or does your processes and are your alignments and truths in your systems based on a debt, a lack? Do you need more? Are you always seeking more to have to keep going? Those are choices in themselves, and that's a great power of choice. That's the initial power of choice in itself, is the great truth. And do you align with your one truth of being an eternal being or not? And when we do, right, we have this ever-powering power to go. And finally, again, I think that I'm going to dip my toe in attempting to talk about service, alignment, and others, and exchanging. When we have this positive abundance, whatever it is within you, who cares what, it could be anything, everything, and it can change from day to day, and depending on what kind of interactions that you are part of, your service calling is different. But it could be, a project, an idea, it could be a song, it can be a drawing, it can be building something, it can be wanting to help, it can be an actionary one, it can be wanting to go on an adventure, it can be, anything within you. There's something that comes out of you is in itself the power. It is the forefront of giving. It is the initiative and initial influx that gets put out as your energy in your external torrido of action. That's your addition. That's your adding into the collective. Thank you. That's it. Just like sovereignty is just you. The moment of conception, you choosing to this life, you up here, bestowed with life, alive and active. It defines that purpose, cut and dry. It's one size, one shape, everybody gets one. To all. That is what it is. Feel free to distinctly make it your own, tailor fit it to you, just as we are all tailor fit. A physical vessel is different slightly. That's a key to the truth here in itself. It's a mirrored reminder of truth in itself to tailor fit everything as a template, as a generic setting for you. So, tailor fitting that to everyone else, or allowing everyone to tailor fit it to themselves, really, is the initial kind of set and setting that is the marker of truth and the sort of atmosphere of the freely offered service, of a positively aligned service, and positive systems. And what Walter Russell really taps into here, I just love the wording. I love to hear systems talk in other language, because just like truth is, a template, words play out truth in different templates as well, And the way that he says, unlimited power is mine within those who are universal. It's kind of like the signature that says that in us knowing that we have this sort of unlimited power, that our contribution is given just by being, just by doing whatever feels good to us, that is the motion that ignites a service retribution to come back, and that creates a receivership for whatever needs that we need to bring in any kind of angle. It doesn't have to be this certain type of action received back as payment. It's not cut and dry when you offer service freely. You have to offer freely. You have to receive freely as well. So, and a quick example of this, is like if you give out a poem, that's your service. You should be ready to receive back a hug, a comment, a smile, a laugh, a shrug, a nothing, I hate it. What's that? Tell me more. Money, please print that. Can I have a picture of that? Like whatever the other feels called to offer as payment, as input, as their service, as their exchange inwards, is correct and should be received as freely as you offered out what you wanted to offer out. You didn't want infringing things on your contribution, so we shouldn't be putting infringing things on what we're receiving back and their contribution. And this has been in itself such a deep working for me over the last months and years. A year, maybe, a year and a half. It's been 2 years I've been doing this Walter Russell prayer. So really, the prayer has unlocked so much of the work that I was doing before. I've created so many parallels to the work in here. That goes along with my systems talk and energetic systems and tower series and meditations, and now the distortions, of course, come in. But the last thing that I really kind of wanted to tap into and just tie back into his exact wording too is, I have the power to revitalize others whom I have made to believe. To him who believes, I will give power to do that which is his to do already, for the glory of man and for the glory of the Infinite One. For the power that is already his to do. I add this already in to his wording. I like to add in a little bit of words. I've talked about this before sometimes, to sort of give more positive potential, because sometimes we get very narrowed into this sort of preliminary matrix things that we hear down, and we start creating negative influxes and entanglements. So sometimes I put in that little already there just to understand that the power we're sharing, the power to heal, the power to vitalize us, the power to create momentum, the power to do good service, any type of service, is already there. And it belongs to all of us, to man in general, to humans, to all beings, and it comes from the Infinite One, the original source, before and after. Not just something or anything within an angle down here in the layers, which is claiming to be the most connected or the version of the Creator, but the real truth. And to know that that power comes from that deep connection is the most crucial point for me. And to always be anchoring into that, and to remember that I really have to cut it. I can't believe the time. I'm going way too long this morning. Thank you so much for joining me in this sort of roundabout, kick the ground homework session about power and power-driven positive service, and how what positive service really is to me. So thank you for listening. As always, thank you all for your comments, your replies, and for your time and energy, and your contribution to the collective, of course. Catch you next time.